do some introductions and then signpost what we're going to try cover in this session. Let you know the format and we'll go from there, okay? So my name is Paul Munns. I'm working with the Corporate Governance Institute as our corporate account manager. I also actually look after international license partnerships, which I can tell you a bit about as well, just as an overview. My colleague here, Fergal O'Neill, who is an educational consultant. So myself and Fergal are going to deliver this session. We're in a privileged position where we get to speak to governance experts, leadership figures from many different territories around the world about corporate governance every day. So we've built some good knowledge in the space, and we also can give you some ideas to typical delegates who take our program. And maybe if you can see a bit of yourself in some of these different career trajectories, we'll talk about them today, okay? So what we're going to cover, these sessions normally take about 25, 30 minutes. And if you want to ask questions during, just use the Q&A and chat function. And I'll either answer those questions during the session as the presentation's going on or at the end. And we'll hopefully get all your questions answered today. You can ask very broad questions about the corporate governance in general, the marketplace. We'll hopefully give you some good answers back based on our experiences of talking to people in the space. Or if you want to ask very detailed questions about the program itself, no details too small. And we'll give you very open and honest and transparent answers, which is very important when you're researching professional training and education programs. So what we do, we'll do a quick introduction of who we are as a brand, and we'll talk to you about some of the course options and delivery and the exams and course dates, etc. So I suppose just to give you an overview of why we exist and how we exist. So we've been put together by two gentlemen, David Duffy and Anthony Quigley. And David comes from the corporate governance background. He's got like over 25, 30 years experience in different parts of the world. He's published books. He's built quite a wide network internationally of people who are specialist practitioners in all corporate governance matters, and has a wide network of directors and non-exec directors within his sort of connected network. Okay, so these people form our basis for the faculty and the product and the idea of why we exist. Anthony Quigley is the co-founder, and Anthony comes from the EdTech background. So in the past, he has built a couple of global certification in different professions, digital marketing and coding. So if people want to have a look at that, you can check out the Digital Marketing Institute, for example. It's a global certification brand now, and we have a very similar model here. Relating things back to corporate governance, our job, our mission, through a syllabus, through exams, through membership, through ongoing learning, through new education products in the space of corporate governance, we're trying to build a definition and a code of best practice for global markets as to what is good corporate governance, okay? So if you're looking to participate on a board or on committees related to boards or perform very specialist governance roles or tasks in your organization, what does best practice, best process look like based on industry experts who are working in the space and have been through quite a lot of different boardroom experiences across some of the key areas, which we'll cover off as we go through this session. So a lot of it is about best process, best practice, industry-led training with some external academic validation and exams to test people's competency so they feel confident that they're fit and proper to be a current or a future director, as the case may be. So I suppose when you're doing some research around education and training, it's very important that you do a lot of due diligence as an individual professional and look into what's behind the brand, who's part of the brand, who builds the product, who validates the product, etc. So we have to be very transparent about this. We take it very seriously. We only really have education in one very specialist area, which is corporate governance. And as befits the space, everything we do has to be very thorough, has to come through a lot of critical analysis and validation from academic and industry bodies and professions, okay? So corporate governance is a very, very niche area, and it's very important we teach people to a certain standard. So the product has been, really well researched and built, and we have a system where we can, on an ongoing basis, upgrade it and add new products as the market changes. We'll talk about that as we go through the program. In terms of authority, so I mentioned David as our CEO. He is the person who sort of has built our syllabus with a collection of practitioners, men and women from different parts of the world, who are all specialists in different areas of corporate governance. So that's who's helped us build the syllabus and product. Then in terms of external validation, so we have to get third parties to verify that what we've done is correct from an industry viewpoint and also from an academic viewpoint. So we have a governance advisory council, and these are all places you can go onto our website and have a look for yourself when you have a few minutes to spare to see who's on these different bodies, our faculty and our governance advisory council. So the governance advisory council will meet twice a year to verify what we've put into our program and make sure it fits what a current director or an aspiring director needs to know about corporate governance across the key areas, so that the product is up to date and in line with what the market wants. So that's the industry validation. The Governance Advisory Council will also, it's like a steering committee. So they will talk to us about emerging areas of interest for boards, like cybersecurity or environmental social governance or digital transformation for organizations. These topics are starting to emerge for boards all around the world. So the Governance Advisory Council will tell us, well, here's what we're seeing in different markets. So you now need to start building education products in these areas too. And that's something we're in the process of doing, and we'll tell you a bit about that at the end of the session. In terms of academic verification, so validation, we have Glasgow Caledonian University, who come in as an academic brand, and they have to look at how we teach, what we teach, the structure of the syllabus, the exams, and how secure they are, etc. And on the back of all that work, they're happy to award a professional diploma in corporate governance with us. Okay, so that's where the academic stamp of approval comes from, through Glasgow Caledonian University. So before we get into the product itself and maybe just talk about some of the delegate personas, and people feel free to type in any questions you have about your own career plans or the course itself throughout. Our core offering is a diploma, as people know, in corporate governance, and we back that up with a very secure exam and a piece of certification that helps the professional feel competent and secure to take on more governance responsibilities in their organization, take on extra governance responsibilities, or possibly transition into a new board position. We get different types of personas taking the program. We get a lot of governance experts or specialists who maybe work in compliance, risk, financial governance matters, ESG, sustainable business matters. It's getting wider all the time. And those people may be reporting directly or indirectly into their board about these very specific topics. And this individual might be taking our diploma to broaden their governance knowledge and experience, and maybe create some new career pathways in the future, whether that's to move on to board position themselves or take on, as I said, some extra governance roles or projects. For example, I was speaking to one gentleman this morning who is working, he's a head of risk in a large organization in the UK, and he is about to take on, he's about to take over a new ESG team, environmental social governance team. So he's considering taking the program to prepare him for that new department of risk that's being set up under the umbrella of ESG. We also get very experienced practicing current directors, company and non-exec directors, who may take the program because they want to get a piece of certification to validate their experience over the last 8 to 10 plus years of being a director. Maybe to check in that they're up to speed on current best practice and process and look at what's happening on boards of different industries. And they may be looking to expand their director portfolio. So I maybe learn about some new areas of emerging topics of importance, as we mentioned, areas like ESG and cybersecurity. So you go through your secure exam and certification, and then we have a professional membership community and library, which we offer people after the program. Because there's more global, I suppose, around the world, there's a lot more transparency about who's on a board, why they're on a board. There's a lot more interest driven by things like social media and fast moving news items. So areas of case studies of bad corporate governance can spread very quickly. They can produce a lot of brand damage. So I suppose against that backdrop, we're starting to see companies look to current boards. How do we de-risk If we recruit people on to bring in new independent non-exec directors over the next 3 to 5 years, how do we select them? What qualifications should they have? So as there's more interest globally as to who's on a board and why they're there, and what direction is that organization going in, and maybe increased legislation and complexity of legislation coming in around areas like ESG, we're here in this market to try help those individuals and organizations de-risk and prepare current or future board members for the governance issues that are coming on down the track. So the course and membership are a big part of doing that. Many of you on the session today will have access to the course brochure and our website, so we won't verbatim go through every single module here, but just to give you a flavor of how the program's structured and what we're trying to cover, you'll see that these are all independent modules of learning on our course that's available in different formats. And we like to move things through from a good defined introduction to corporate governance. When did the current modern day principles and processes around corporate governance begin, and track them through to the current and present day. And look at case studies of good and bad examples of corporate governance and discuss some of the terminology. That sets you up to then to move through the program. You'll see some modules are very much enabling individual professionals, delegates, whether you're at the boardroom level or you're reporting in or you're helping improve governance practices in your organization. We look at those key areas like governance architecture, your governance handbook, reporting. So they're very much, is your board as efficient as it could be? Is it structured correctly? The changes need to happen to the structure for it to perform more efficiently. Look at what good structures look like in different sectors and different companies and different boards. And make sure that the governance handbook is up to date. And again, that's a topic that comes up again and again in our program, where there's very experienced board members who may say that actually we haven't really updated our handbook much in the last 3 to 4 years. So it could be outdated in terms of the behaviors and processes that you want to be adhered to at boardroom level. And reporting as well is another one of those key foundations of good governance. So it's important that anyone who's in the governance ecosystem understands these key topics. Then we look at, I suppose, more broader areas like the culture at boardroom level. So that's becoming a really important topic globally. What's the culture of your board? Is there enough diversity on the board? So again, all reports around the world, and there's more and more legislation coming in, but it's been proven fundamentally that a more diverse board gets better results, operates more efficiently, and really is an improvement in every way, shape, and form. There can be some myths around diversity. It's a lot of it is around diversity of skills. So get different people with different backgrounds, different skill sets to be on the board. And that can also relate to things around race, gender, age, etc. But really, it's more about expanding the skill set of your board and having more diverse opinions, and particularly in these new disruptive topics like technology-based topics that are becoming important for boards, and ESG as well. So culture is very important. Some questions often come up from professionals who maybe don't come from a formal risk or financial matters background. So again, we have to cater for everybody. So some people have very strong financial backgrounds who come onto the program, and other individuals haven't had a very strong financial background. It hasn't been one of their core skill sets or areas of experience. That's okay. The financial matters module is there to accelerate a professional to a level after the module that you're able to read financial reports at board level and ask good questions and assess the answers back. Again, the same for risk. So even if risk and compliance haven't been some of your core competencies, that's okay. So you can go on and be confident as a director, non-exec or executive, or perform any role in the governance ecosystem, again, understanding risk at board level. So these modules are designed for someone to accelerate and get some practitioner knowledge. Or if you're already from this space or that background, sometimes it's a nice refresher. Okay, that's the feedback we get from delegates. And we finish off the program then with, looking at boards from a more strategic viewpoint. How do you evaluate the performance of a board? Because boards are increasingly looking to become more efficient, to resolve things sooner, to move quicker. So the performance of a board is very, very important. And we also have a strategy module. So again, For any C-level leadership figures or people who are, working in the governance ecosystem, but they haven't been on a board yet, people may think of strategy as being more day-to-day, quarter-to-quarter, or an annual strategy. At board level, we're trying to educate and train delegates to think more holistically about longer-term impacts that might be coming into their industry or their company, and map out a longer-term strategy and look at risk appetite and what are factors that could change your industry wholesale in the next 4 to 5 or 10 years, and how do you plan accordingly. So again, strategy is trying to look further into the future. And two very important modules to consider. I just completed the company director module myself last week, and there's a whole module on the role of a non-exec director. So even to this day, delegates are coming onto our program, often very experienced governance professionals, practitioners are on a board already, and the feedback they have that often their first board position or new board positions, they're often not given a really clear guidance as to what their specific role may be as a director or a non-exec director, and that's just from the market feedback. We have people in these areas and positions. So again, we try and give people clarity about what the role of a director is versus the role of a non-exec director. We look at the regulations, and we look at reputational risk, personal responsibility, insurance as an individual director, what your responsibilities are to the organization, to the different stakeholders. And again, some of these areas, many organizations or individuals take some of these areas of learning for granted, and often a lot of individuals are not fully aware, okay? So it's very important that you have that clarity. And the company director module and the non-exec director module will be delivered by company directors and a practicing non-exec director. We have a lot of people who are looking to transition into maybe a varied role of a non-exec director career. They're transitioning away from an executive career or a C-level career, and they're planning over the next 6 to 12 months to look to move on to multiple boards in a non-exec director capacity, possibly do some consultancy as well back to their industry in the area of governance, maybe work with some startups. Okay, so there's a lot of variations here. You'll see if you research our faculty on our website and go look at some of the people who teach and train the program over a period of time. Those individuals may be offering governance advisory services to some brands. They may be sitting on multiple boards, and they may be sitting on everything from highly regulated boards and highly regulated industries to charities, NGOs. They may be giving governance advice to startups to get their governance systems in place, and maybe end up sitting on the board of a company that moves from startup into a small to medium phase, and maybe looking for investment in the future. And I suppose good governance is becoming more common in the overall strategy of an organization, because increasingly, whether you're a small to medium or a large scale enterprise, trying to attract future investment or get more capital into your business, the people that lend or invest in companies globally are increasingly looking at, what type of governance is in place as well to reassure us that our investment has protection long term. So it's not just that you have a good profitable business that maybe has growth potential, and increasingly investors are looking at who's on the board and, will my investment be protected long term? And that's the feedback on what we're observing in the marketplace. So just coming into the last sort of 5 or 6 minutes of information. So if anyone has any questions, be thinking of them now and please pop them in. So in terms of the mechanics of the program, what's involved. So the course is available in different formats. Essentially, you have 11 key modules of learning. Each module is approximately 3 hours long. We estimate, depending on your professional background, your governance experience, some individuals may do more research and study around new governance topics. If you're already a practitioner in some areas, you might have less independent or research or revision to do. But you'll see there on average, maybe another 20, 30 hours to combine with your core learning on the program to, research a bit more, revise for your exams, etc. And if we do live online with Zoom, which we have, part-time and full-time, and I'll tell you more about that in the next slide. We record everything, and we also have an increasingly popular, flexible, on-demand learning program for people. Thanks for that question, Enoch. I will answer that just after the presentation. Thank you very much. And please feel free, everyone else, to throw in the questions. So the exams to get certified, and this is a professional certification. We obviously have a lot of delegates. Most of our delegates have completed high-level academic qualifications in the past in business and other areas, postgrads, degrees, masters, etc. This is very much based on professional education, industry-led, and professional certification. So our exams are online, multiple choice, psychometric examination, and we've 3 assessments. Exam 1 is based on module 1 to 5 in the program. Exam 2 is based on modules 6 to 11, and exam 3 is based on some of the case studies that we teach out during the program. It's taken on a platform called Cirrus. It's very flexible. You do the exams online, and you can see the pass, merit, and distinction grades there. Generally speaking, based on our average numbers last year, we had nearly just under 400 delegates take the full diploma last year, and we were operating off a 95% completion and certification rate. Okay, so that means the individual delegates who enrolled onto the program, 95% got through the program and completed their certification. So it is a thorough test of your knowledge, but our high certification rates would be a combination of we have the right delegates coming onto the program, so people that are working in areas of governance, they're very interested in the space, it's part of their profession, and those individuals are very likely to finish something that they start. The product is very well built, and it's delivered by very, very good trainers and experienced trainers, so that encourages people to get finished and complete the program. And they would be the main reasons why we have such high completion rates. And it's rare that someone will come onto this course with having spoken to someone like myself or Fergal with 2 or 3 pretty clear ideas of why they're doing the program. And once you know the why you're doing an education program, you're very likely to finish it. So just on delivery, thanks Abiola. We'll answer that question for you shortly. We have 3 formats. So we try to give as much flexibility as possible. We're an ed tech business, so we use technology as much as possible. So we have a part-time online live instructor-led Zoom option where you enroll and you take 1 module per week for 11 weeks. And the sessions would generally be on from 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. GMT. We also have a live intensive bootcamp where practitioners will take you through in a very intensive week of learning every module on the program. Normally that's for delegates who like the idea of acceleration. Their job or supporting to take a week off to do the program. Maybe they've taken a redundancy and they're transitioning into a new role, so they have the time to do that. So it's a common option now in executive leadership training where people might do very intensive training and education in 1 or 2 or 3 week bursts. Okay, and that depends on your choice as an individual learner. So in that scenario, you'll do 2 modules a day from 9:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. with breaks in between. We also, because we have quite an increased global audience on different time zones, but we have a lot of people in Ireland, the UK, and Europe also taking this option. It's a self-paced, on-demand option. So you log on to an interactive learning platform, and you watch different types of materials, audio, videos. You get links to case studies. You do some reading and some research papers, etc. So that's how you get through the program, module by module. What we offer people every 2 weeks, because interaction is very important, peer-to-peer education is very important. We run what we call governance clinics, live governance clinics every 2 weeks for every delegate, no matter which format you've taken of the program. And you can log in, walk through a governance case study or a subject matter with an industry expert, and have breakout discussions and also do some digital networking. Okay, so because we attract quite experienced, practicing governance professionals, whether they're in a large organization, they're in different parts of the world, they're on boards, they're transitioning onto boards. And the feedback we get from each cohort is not only did I learn a lot from the industry experts and a well-structured syllabus, but I also made 4 or 5 really good connections, which I'll sustain into the next 12 months. And these people might become a mentor to me, or I might be mentoring someone else. and we maybe doing business together in the future. Okay. So just on some upcoming dates, obviously January has come and gone, okay, but we have a part-time program starting on March the 23rd. We have a full-time bootcamp starting on April the 25th. And with online self-paced, we generally start 2 cohorts every month. So we have a group of people who will start the program in the middle of a month, and a group of individuals who will start the program at the end of a month. So it's quite flexible. Just to be finishing the last slide and one on membership, then I'm going to get into the questions. Once your steps to enrollment, essentially, some people have already had a one-to-one conversation with myself or Fergal or another consultant in the business. Feel free to book in a session one-to-one, talk a bit more, find out a bit more, and get some analysis back, figure out what you're trying to achieve. We then issue with a course ID, a booking invoice, and membership access. And once you pay your course fee, you get access to the full online program once you pay your fee, or 1 week before your live course starts. Just a quick finish on membership, because it is an important area, and it links to some of the questions that are coming in as well from the audience. Because areas of governance are being disrupted by technology and ESG, it's important that we keep a continuous learning or just-in-time learning system in place. So we do that through some of the topics and types of content you see on the slide there: ebooks, governance handbooks, guides, interviews, videos, live sessions, etc. What's really important, and some of the questions relate to this, we obviously attract professionals who are working in different governance roles in different industries. They're taking the program maybe to improve a current scenario or protect a current career position and maybe grow in the future. So we have a members directory whereby when you're certified, you can choose, you control who gets to see your certification. So you'll see, if you follow our brand on LinkedIn, I encourage everyone to do so. You will see every time we get a cohort finish the program, they'll publish their feedback on LinkedIn. And then when they get certified, maybe 4 to 8 weeks later, they'll generally publish their certification on LinkedIn, and that's their choice to do so. That's them telling their network and wider that they've completed a governance qualification, and they may be open to having conversations about new opportunities in the space. But internally in our membership platform, we have a directory, which if you choose to, you can give access to recruiters in the space. Okay, so as you can appreciate, recruitment for boards varies from different sector to sector, but in general, a team that's coming across from some of the corporate clients that we work with, the recruitment process for boards is becoming ever more professional, more of a meritocracy. People will conduct interviews. They go out and search the market for the right type of profile. And when you then go to interview, you're going to get chosen for the board position based on your skills, your experience, what you might bring to that board, and also your qualifications in the space. Okay. A good question often gets asked around qualifications. If you take the UK as an example, there could be up to 4 million directors in the UK, of which less than 10% have a formal qualification in corporate governance. Okay, so that means there's a lot of practicing directors around the world, company non-exec directors, who got into a role on a board without a formal corporate governance qualification. That's just a byproduct of the way the market has been over the last 15 to 20 years. So what's growing and why we exist is as a part of de-risking and increased regulation and transparency and focus. People, individual directors, or people who aspire to be directors, and the recruiting brands, see a piece of training that's had a test and an exam as another important tick box, and a de-risk that the person who they're hiring to come onto the board won't be fully prepared, has an idea of what best practice looks like, and has a good handle on some of the emerging topics that might be important for that board in the future. So hopefully that gave people a good overview. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to circle back and start with some of the questions from earlier on. So thanks, Fergal, answer that question. We'll record this session and we'll share it with everybody so you can go back and have a look. Enoch, after completing the diploma, do I get chartered status as a member? Okay, so we don't offer chartered director qualifications. We are professional standard in corporate governance, okay? And we educate and certify every type of boardroom persona, whether you're a company secretary, an executive director, a non-exec director, or just a professional who works in a large organization or any organization with very specific governance responsibilities. Around membership, as part of your diploma, you get 6 months membership, okay, as part of your diploma, and then you have an option to renew your membership after 6 months, if you choose to, okay. Membership renewal is €345 per year or £300 sterling. The diploma cost is €3,950 or 3,350 sterling. We get a lot of people from Ireland, Europe, or the UK taking the program. Abiola, how does the certification compare with the ICSA certification? Very good question. So we do get a lot of company secretaries who come to us for training and certification. We're not a specialist company secretary standard. Okay, so as I said there, we cater for every type of boardroom persona. Generally, and Fergal might come into this as well, but in my experience, the type of company secretary that might choose to do our certification is somebody who is probably 5 years plus into their career as a company secretary. They maybe have completed some of ICSA certifications already, so they've got their company secretary certification and training down. They may be taking our program just to expand and grow their governance knowledge, with a view to maybe making some improvements to how their current board operates. And some company secretaries may also be looking at taking a non-exec director position in the future themselves. So that's where our qualification comes in. Would that be fair to say, Fergal?
Yeah, generally it'll be more experienced company secretaries, maybe group head or company secretaries that would enroll on this program. And they would be looking to implement best practices and procedures within an organization. And this would give them the fundamentals to do that. So that would be the kind of profile that we would get. Generally, any company secretary doing this course would have that EXA qualification already in the bag, and they'd be looking at this certification to complement what they already have.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best accurate answer we can give you there. Joe, nice to see you. How often do we run the intensive boot camp? So we run boot camps 4 times a year at the moment, okay? So the next one is on in April. We have another one in July, I think it's July 25th, and we'll have another one in September, okay? So again, people like to prepare for a boot camp. We get like practicing directors who need to look at their schedule. So they may have a busy quarter in terms of there's a lot of board meetings in a certain quarter, so they may try pivot and do their boot camp in a quarter that if slightly less projects on, okay? So we run them 4 times a year. Enoch, do you get prospective employers looking to employ some of your students? So I suppose just to give you an idea, our typical delegate, we are here to certify and train the next generation of directors. So we have had people in the middle stage of the career who might be a good few years away from a formal boardroom position, but they've been identified by their brand as being a governance leader of the future. So they may be taking the certification now to keep growing and building their governance career, maybe sit on a shadow board, for example, or some committees. But generally, our delegates are people who are in a governance role at the moment, and they're looking to improve or expand that role or take on some new responsibilities. A C-level leader who again wants to improve his or her engagement with their board and understand governance so they can look at their organization and maybe perform better and connect better with their board. Or maybe the C-level leader wants to move on to a board and transition their career away from full-time executive career. And then we have directors who are, or non-exec directors, some looking for their first non-exec director position. Some people have multiple positions already. And again, this is just like a de-risk. It's de-risking their career for themselves. They're protecting what they currently have, and they may like to grow or expand their portfolio in the future. Recruitment for boards, as you can imagine, is a very, very specialist type of recruitment. So just like some corporate clients we've worked with, so we're working with one NHS brand at the moment where their chair and CEO did our diploma with a view to making their current governance practice and process more efficient. And on the back of the program, they then went to market to hire 4 new independent non-exec directors. which they use the program to build that interview process, select the right people. And then as an induction, they're putting those non-exec directors through our diploma. So it's through our membership directory. If people want their certification to be searched by very specialist and good quality governance recruitment organizations or consultants in different parts of the world, that's the way we're going to do it. People often ask the question, well, did somebody who wanted to take the program to get their first non-exec director position, did it work for them? We haven't found anyone it hasn't worked for yet, but that's, you know, we've had like just under 400 people take the program throughout most of last year. There's still some people who are at different stages. They've just got their certification. Building a pathway to non-exec directorship, it's not something you just do overnight. You know, people plan 6 to 12 months in advance. We've yet to hear, no one's come back to us and said, I went for that non-exec director position and they told me that this certification didn't stand up to scrutiny, therefore we're not going to hire you. We have examples of people who have managed to get into their first non-exec director role. How much of that is down to our certification? We can only play, be humble enough to say we play a part of that, but it wouldn't be the main part, because you still have to get onto a board. A lot of it's going to be your profile, your governance experience, the industries you've been in, the skill sets that you have. A nice piece of specialist certification is just another extra advantage that you might have to get those first few positions. Also, the learning is very important. So you're fully aware if you're going into a board position for the first time, the course takes away some of the fears. It makes you understand, makes you choose the right type of board for you, understand what your roles and responsibilities are, understand what the emerging topics are, just be better prepared, okay? It's a very long answer to your question, but like we try to answer it honestly for you. Yusuf, the part-time diploma, the full-time diploma, the on-demand diploma, it's the same price, okay? It's €3,950 for the program, no matter which format you go for. Is it recommended for entry level in house councils? So maybe elaborate a bit more on that. A bit like we said with the company secretary role, or us certifying and training the next generation. We are absolutely here to democratize corporate governance. We have, like, for example, we would have more female delegates than male delegates. I think it's 58% to 42, I think, approximately. So yeah, it depends on what stage you're at in your career. That's a conversation you might have one-to-one with myself or Fergal as to, am I doing this course too early? But we have, say, some corporate clients who are taking the program in-house, not just for current board members, but they might be training and certifying the next generation of board members. So what they call C2 or C3 level. And they're people who maybe don't have a formal, they're more entry level into the governance world, but they're being sort of prepared to be governance leaders in the organization in maybe the next 3 to 5 years. And don't forget topics like cybersecurity, digital transformation, ESG. These are emerging topics, and some of these topics can be part of the next generation of board leaders or governance leaders. It can be your pathway into getting a stronger voice in your industry or in your organization around the area of governance. Enoch, the bootcamp course, yes. No, we don't. We have our live courses set in the dates, and they're the dates that they're going to run. Okay. Some professionals, if they really want to do the program, and they have a very particular reason why it's urgent for them to do, and they prefer the bootcamp option, but the bootcamp date doesn't suit them. The only other option would be to do the on-demand option, and you could accelerate through the program at your own pace, and then do the live governance clinics to keep getting that live interaction and make those connections with other governance professionals in different countries and territories, and membership as well. So we do a lot of live member and governance clinics as much as possible on a monthly basis. It's quite relentless, the options we give you, which is important, and you can choose what you want to log into. Neve, how does this complement CGI examinations and membership? So yeah, Neve, this is a very good question. When we're a relatively new education certification brand, People often make the mistake that we're part of ICSA or ICSA are part of us. ICSA and CGI are two completely different entities. Okay, and we're independent. We have no connection with each other. In education, you'll often hear brands that have similar sounding names, and that's where understandable confusion can happen. We're here. Our angle into the market is a corporate governance qualification for all aspiring or current directors, backed up by the industry and academia. It's at a certain price point. It's delivered through technology. It's got a lot of depth, but it's also probably a shorter qualification than some of the other governance qualifications that you might find around the world. So our USP is for quite busy professionals who want to study corporate governance in a shorter space of time at an affordable price compared to what other products might be out there, and get a good qualification. ICSA is more for, it's very specific to company secretaries. And as I said, we do cater for company secretaries, but generally speaking, it's probably for the more experienced company secretary who has completed and got a good career as a company secretary. Maybe they're as Fergal said, they head the company secretary department, or they're quite advanced in their governance experience. So they come to us at that point. Okay.
Well, I might just answer the company law side of things there as well. And you asked there, would this course cover the company law aspect? The course itself will cover the key principles of company law in common law countries. So I suppose these countries would include Ireland, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Canada. We try and accommodate them within Europe. The diploma kind of enables existing or potential directors to be able to ask about the specific duties and responsibilities of a director under company law in any common law country. So just to kind of give you that insight into how we approach the company law aspect.
Yeah, good answer, Fergal. Thank you. Heather, unfortunately, no. As I said, we have our live date set. There's a part-time option in March and a full-time option in April, and we appreciate the dates may not fit for everyone. The backup option, and again, it might not fit. This might not be suitable for people. Is the online on demand with your monthly live interactions, just through different formats. Okay.
Yeah. And again, that option, the online on demand, you can go as quickly as you want, or you can take the duration of the 6 months to complete that. So if those dates, in March, April don't suit, then that is a good option of completing the diploma. Again, it's the same certification at the end of each of the three formats.
Thanks, Fergal. Ashley, thank you for the questions. How many people enroll on our diploma course every year? So last year we started our company in September 2020. Okay, so we look at the last 12 months. We had just under 400 delegates come through from 16 countries. This year we expect to have about 800 delegates come through our core diploma, and that will be probably from maybe 20 plus countries. Some of those people will enroll directly with us, predominantly in Ireland, the UK, mainland Europe, and some countries outside of Europe too. We also have licensed partners, so we have other universities, other education brands will be offering our program to professionals in their territory. So that's where the certified base will grow. We also have members then coming into membership directly or through the program. So a certification brand is only as good as the volume of its alumni and community and the quality. Okay, so they're the two things that we are looking to grow. Yes, Ashley, a really good thing to do, and I'd encourage everybody to do this. A good way to get third-party validation or to speak to people is follow our brand on LinkedIn, and you'll then see the delegates who will be talking about, I've just finished the program, I've just got certified, and please reach out to them. It's the best thing to do. It's organic, and they'll tell you what their experience is like. We can only go on what people are telling us. So the certification rates and the satisfaction rates are at 95.25%. So generally people who've taken the program are very, very happy at the end. simply because they've been taught by good experts. It's a well-built syllabus. It's being taught, we've thought of every eventuality for a current or aspiring board member. It's very practical. So there's a logic to everything that we do. But you know, we'd encourage to go have those conversations. You'll find a lot of our delegates are very open. They're on LinkedIn. They'll happily speak to. They're always looking to build more connections with professionals in different parts of the world who are interested in corporate governance, because it is a niche area. Not everyone in business thinks or wants to know about corporate governance. So the people that do generally like to speak to other professionals. So I think they'll be quite open to speaking to you. Okay. And if you want us to send you any profiles, we'll happily do that too. And maybe a good thing to do actually is tell us your type of persona, and we might find someone that's, you know, similar to what you're trying to achieve, and we can point you in their direction too. Okay. We don't try and manipulate the conversation, so we let you go speak from yourself. Colin, how flexible is a part-time course? So good question. People do miss modules occasionally. We record everything, so the sessions run as you'd expect for the audience on time. You know, we start at 6:30 sharp, but we end. Well, sometimes conversations will break out and the session go a little bit longer, and that's okay. And we record the session. If you were looking ahead to your 11 weeks and you suspected you were going to miss 2 or 3 modules, at that point, you might say, well, maybe the online on demand. Ideally, if you did the live program, you'd be trying to get to about 80% of your classes. But we have quite busy professionals, and sometimes they have to leave the session for an important business call for half an hour, and that's just life, or they miss something. We record everything, so you'll get access to the recording the next day. So if you want to go back and watch the full module, it's really important. You can't miss the content, because one module you'll be tested on that module, so it's important to get access to it.
But it is quite a flexible option all the same. Those, you know, the recordings are there, so, you know, life happens, and, you know, sometimes you can't attend the live lecture on the night. You can catch up at your convenience then. So it is quite a flexible option all the same, Colin.
Enoch, can one gain university entry for an MA after completing diploma? It's a very good question, Enoch. Generally speaking, and I said our typical delegate, as befits the subject matter, it's generally people more at the midway or past the midway point of their executive career, okay? And then everything into C-level leadership and practicing board members. We are about to launch 1 or 2 partnerships with universities where they'll be taking part of our program into their MBA or their master's program as a governance module. And people will be graduating with their MBA plus a certification from ourselves. And it won't be the full diploma, because again, it's a long career, and while there is a real move towards getting the next generation of business professionals, what their viewpoint is on topics like ESG, realistically, it's not like people who are graduating from an MBA or a master's program who are in the earlier stage of their career won't be fast tracked in most cases onto boards. Okay, so generally speaking, right now, most of our delegates have completed their academic qualification in the past, and we're now, as a top up, a very specialist piece of training and certification that they have a reason to do, and has a benefit to them over the next 12 to 24 months, whether it's helping them with a current project, increasing the projects they're on, developing another career pathway, getting onto a board, or staying on a board, or growing how many boards they're on. Okay. I hope that answers your question, Enoch. But if you want to have a more detailed career conversation, you know, please feel free to book in a session with myself and Fergal or anyone else. Yeah, Joe, it's a good question. Fergal, you maybe come in on this. Yeah. Provisionally, Joe, we've definitely another part-time in September, but I'm not sure if there's one in between there, Fergal, between March and September.
We actually have yet to set a date yet. So okay. What we'll do, Joe, is we'll get back to you on that date. So we're actually in the process of setting that date. Probably next week we'll have an answer for you with that.
Yeah, we'll send that on. Hi, Colin. Is there a greater level of interaction? So between the part-time and the full-time, it's the same level of interaction. So if you can imagine, you're on Zoom like we are now, you've got the industry expert, the practitioner who's facilitating the conversation. Yes, they will teach the slides and give you the benefits of their advice. It's very conversational. So because they're industry experts and they're working on boards right now, or they're with clients, they'll often tell you about scenarios they've been involved in that links into the actual presentation. There's breakout sessions, and because the average delegate, has a lot of business experience and knowledge of different governance matters, you'll find people in the cohort will offer good questions and often give answers too. And there'll be breakouts within that. So the interaction in the live is very similar, whether you do part-time or full-time. Obviously, if you're doing on demand, it's because you like the flexibility of doing the core syllabus on your own time, but it's just you and the computer, and you're going through videos, audios, and different materials. And then you have the option to go and do live lunch learning and live governance clinics, where you can engage as much as you want. There's also other channels like a Slack channel and a LinkedIn group, which are part of your learning experience. Again, where as much as possible, we're always trying to facilitate as much connectivity between different cohorts as possible, because that's very important in this space. Obviously, people who connect through the program or through the membership will form some business connections. They then might meet offline. That's fine, but we're an ed tech business, so a lot of what we do is trying to nurture and get people connected as much online, and then where it goes from there, it's down to the individual delegates themselves. So I hope that answers your question, Colin, as best we can. Yeah, no problem, Joe. So we're 50 minutes in. Hopefully people got a bit of a sense of our program, who we are. If you have any more questions? Oh, soft skills, very good, Jackie, great question. I'm glad you brought that up. So this is something we do a lot of lunch and learns on, and we did last year around soft skills. So the corporate culture module, but soft skills come up in every module, because at board level, increasingly, it's not just your technical skills, okay, whether you've come from a compliance or financial background, they're very important, and you have a specific role as a company or a non-exec director, and there's a lot of technical skills that are needed at board level, and that's fine. But then increasingly, the soft skills are, how do you engage? How do you collaborate? Are you empathetic? Are your listening skills good? There's been a big move, and this is probably where the diversity angle comes, and corporate culture at board level comes into. It's to get better conversations, more balanced conversations, and so soft skills are a constant conversation in the program, in our membership sessions. And the S in ESG is organizations thinking about what their role is in society, and for the different stakeholders, shareholders, customers, the community they may serve. And so yeah, soft skills are a very broad topic, but it's something that's probably driven by the diversity at board level, to get different people with different backgrounds coming together to collaborate and reach a consensus, and everybody feel there was no toxicity. So again, if you look at the case studies at board level, the publicly available case studies, when things start to go wrong for an organization, it generally can be traced back to some board members acting in bad faith, a toxic culture, other board members not feeling they could contribute or weren't listened to, silos happening. So all that stuff is, we speak about it all the time, and that's what, in theory, every organization wants to gradually not have happening on their board, and have systems and handbooks that protect the board from these scenarios happening. Yeah, sorry, Enoch. So just again, to clarify on the chartered status, okay, we don't use the term chartered member. You become, you get a professional diploma in corporate governance from us, okay, and that prepares you, depending on what your profile is, to become an active board director or board member, or you've done it to help you in a particular governance project. So you get a professional diploma in corporate governance, and then you become a professional member, okay. We don't offer a chartered directorship qualification. Fergal, do you want to maybe mention the nomenclature that comes after your name as well? Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the term chartered status. It's an IOD terminology. What we offer is certification in corporate governance. So you'll be awarded the DIP Corp Gov after completing all the assessments and being successful. So you're accredited, you're university accredited in the area of corporate governance. And that puts you at a unique advantage going forward. Again, Paul has mentioned that 1% of directors in UK, Ireland have certification in the area of corporate governance. So it certainly helps you put your best foot forward. Again, the only organisation that offers chartered status or chartered diploma in corporate governance is the IOD, and that's just a term they coined. But what you'll have is professional recognition in the area of corporate governance and certification from a university going forward, and going into roles. It'll certainly help you put your best foot forward. So I hope that kind of clears that up for you.
No problem, Enoch. And Enoch, if you want, or if anyone wants to ask us, we can give you the credit rating level. So you can always get an academic credit rating of what our diploma is. But as I said earlier, people don't really come to us for it being a high level, academic award. A lot of our delegates have already completed substantial academic programs in the past, and they've come to us for a very, very specific piece of industry-led training that has a secure piece of certification on the back of it. So no problem, Ashley. So we're just up to the hour. I hope everyone got some value from the session today, and it was a pleasure. Thanks to everyone for attending. And, as I said, myself and Fergal are open if you want to have a one-to-one at any point this month or next month. Just let us know and we'll happily book that in.